Welcome. You have clicked on the voiceover story for 9StarHegemonBodyArt. This intro will be short. If you want to read it personally, you can read 9StarHegemonBodyArt at wuxiaworld.com. Translator, BorntoBe. Wuxia World or Wuxia World is spelled Wuxia. The link for it will be in the description of all future videos. Without further ado, let's get into it. Chapter 1. Memories of a Pill Sovereign. Who am I? I am Long Chen. I look down on the very heavens, the arrogant 9 heavens, peerless pill sovereign Long Chen. I am someone who is cheated and bullied by everyone, a spineless, good-for-nothing cripple, incapable of cultivating Long Chen. His mind was a world of confusion, and at the same time, severe pain came from all over his body. Long Chen was unable to stop his mind's chaotic thoughts and emitted a pained groan. Chen you finally awakened? Thank God. Your mom was worried sick about you. If you want to brag about how strong you are, then fine. But what did you have to go do with those people? A kind and gentle voice sounded beside Long Chen's ear. That voice was full of happiness and comfort, but toward the end, it also became choked with emotion. Long Chen slowly opened his eyes. His blurry vision gradually became clearer, and a woman's face appeared before him. The woman appeared to be in her 30s, and she was extremely beautiful. However, at the corner of her eyes were some deep wrinkles that did not match up with her young age. Currently, this woman was tearfully looking at Long Chen with eyes that were full of love, making Long Chen's heart feel a burst of warmth. Child, you scared your mom to death. As the woman spoke, her eyes became even redder and her tears streamed down. Mom? Long Chen looked at this familiar yet strange face. He doubtingly said this one word. His face filled with confusion. Child, don't scare your mom. Don't you recognize me? The woman's face immediately became panicked. At this moment, an elderly man appeared beside the woman. He examined Long Chen, and he said, Mrs. Long Chen suffered a blow to the back of his head, so it's possible he will need to rest a bit to recover his memories. Don't be too worried. Just now I gave the young master some medicine. The medicinal energy still hasn't completely dissolved, so just let the young master rest for a bit longer. Mrs. Long worriedly looked at Long Chen. Reluctantly, she nodded her head and followed the elderly man out of the room. Long Chen heard the elderly man advising the woman softly in the distance. Mrs. Long, the fact that young Master Long managed to return with his life is already infinitely lucky. Don't force it too much. Mrs. Long tremblingly replied, Master Alchemist's meaning is that my son will. The elderly man, who had been called an alchemist, sighed. The young master's hindbrain received an acute shock. To tell the truth, being able to wake up is already extremely lucky. However, the repercussions will definitely still be very severe. Losing his memory is quite possible in this situation. The two people gradually walked further and further away, so Long Chen could no longer hear them clearly. But what was barely audible to him was the sound of Mrs. Long's sobbing. Long Chen gazed blankly at the ceiling above as he felt severe pains throughout his body, especially at the back of his head, which was bursting with swollen, aching pain. Just what happened? I'm Long Chen, and so Mrs. Long is my flesh and blood mother. How could I have such an unfamiliar feeling? And all these confusing memories. Where did they come from? I have memories that I'm an arrogant, exceedingly powerful person, but at the same time, I remember that I'm an often bullied and extorted bitter trash. Pill Sovereign Long Chen? Trash Long Chen? Which is the real me? Am I the Pill Sovereign's reincarnation? Or am I a fusion of the Pill Sovereign's soul with a trash weakling? Long Chen's mind was full of endless questions. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I am Long Chen. Whether I am Pill Sovereign Long Chen or the old, crippled Long Chen doesn't mean anything right now. The most important thing is that I'm still alive. I have 2 sets of memories that have mixed together. How would I even try to fix this kind of insane problem? Instead, what I need to do right now is to let myself recover as quickly as possible. Sensing his body's current condition, he quickly located many fractures. He had 3 broken ribs, 1 broken arm in 2 places, and most severe of all, his hindbrain was injured to the point where a large portion of his scalp had caved in. He had definitely been the victim of an extremely vicious assault. Although I have no way to condense energy, my spiritual strength appears to be extremely powerful. I can actually sense everything within 30 meters of my body. Long Chen was pleasantly surprised. According to his garbled memories, spiritual strength was invaluable, especially to pill cultivators. Prophet? Whether he was the reincarnation of a Pill Sovereign, or his soul was just a mix containing the Pill Sovereign's memories, the present him had definitely profited greatly. The Pill Sovereign had lived an entire lifetime already, and now that had allowed him to possess an exceptionally strong soul. Just what kind of awesomeness was this? However, when he carefully examined his body, his expression changed. My spiritual root has been taken away. My abdomen spirit bone is also missing. That appears to be dug out. And my heart has a hole? Who would just be this ruthless to take my spirit root, spirit bone, and spirit blood? No wonder I can't cultivate. Long Chen was completely infuriated. His current spiritual strength was much, much stronger than his old self. It was now strong enough for him to immediately figure out the mystery of why he was a cripple who couldn't cultivate. The spirit root was located in the Danchen. It was the foundation for all cultivators. Without the spirit root, there was no way to sense heaven and earth's spiritual energy, let alone absorb it for cultivating. Spirit blood was something that people were born with. It was a trace of blood that gave you an innate talent. Well, basically all people were born with it. The majority of cultivators didn't know anything about it. The spirit bone was found in the pit of a person's abdomen and slightly bulged out. Ordinary people wouldn't have a spirit bone. Even amongst cultivators, maybe only 1 in 10,000 would have one, which marked them as a genius. However, Long Chen's spirit bone was obviously missing and had clear marks of being dug out by someone. His face became exceedingly unsightly. If his memories were not all mixed up, then how could he not remember who had done this to his body? Although these 3 things were precious to him, they wouldn't have any use once they left his body. If they wanted to harm him, why did they have to use such a harsh method? Using this kind of method was practically causing him to live a life worse than death. However, anger only brought on more anger. And since he was already missing them, being angry did not have any use. You better not let me find out who did this. Long Chen couldn't help but gnash his teeth in anger. This was an extremely great blow to him. With him possessing a spirit bone, even if he had been an idiot, he still would have been an absolute genius. But now, some despicable bastard had caused him to become a useless person who was incapable of cultivating, causing him to be humiliated and receive condescending looks from practically everyone. Just when Long Chen was about to furiously erupt, the door of the room was gently pushed open, and a pretty 13-year-old maiden walked in. This was Long Chen's maid, who was called Bao. Young master, it's time to take some medicine. Medicine? What medicine is it? Long Chen's nose sniffed slightly as he asked. This is something Mrs. Long paid an enormous price for. It's a tiger bone pill that can quickly heal young master's injuries, Bao replied. She opened the small, elaborate case in her hand, revealing the medicinal pill inside. It is said that this medicinal pill came from Grandmaster Xianxia. The medicinal strength is very strong. Looking at the thing, Long Chen's face became a bit strange. Even this kind of plaything could be called a pill? Its shape was uneven, and it seemed more like a meatball. Even not talking about the shape, its color was completely black, and there wasn't even a trace of luster. It wasn't emitting a very faint medicinal aroma. If it wasn't, then Long Chen might even suspect that it was a ball of sheep dung. After staring at the thing in his hand for a long time, Long Chen finally sighed. Someone who had ended up losing over 80% of the medicinal pill's essence could still be called a Grandmaster? Long Chen bewilderedly wondered how someone could have created something so soft and mushy. Pills could be divided into 5 grades: low grade, middle grade, high grade, top grade, and peerless grade. As for the pill in his hand, it couldn't even count as one of the 5 grades. Long Chen suddenly realized that this was just a defective good. It was a trash pill. Normally, alchemists would definitely not sell this kind of medicinal pill, since they couldn't afford to lose their customers. Oftentimes, they would be turned into medicinal liquids or just directly thrown out. Young master, don't daydream. In order to obtain this precious pill, Mrs. Long already sold off her own precious jewelry. You should hurry and take it, urged Bauer. Long Chen couldn't help but feel some pain in his heart. His impression of his mother was that she loved him very dearly, to the point where it was like he was drowning in love. It had reached the point where his mother would basically never refuse any of his requests. His mother had done everything and anything for him. She had given birth to him while she was still young. She had been gifted with great beauty growing up. But now, she was barely 30-something years old and had already had wrinkles in the corner of her eyes. Seeing those deep wrinkles, Long Chen knew that she had already sacrificed far too much for him. Looking at the medicinal pill in his hand, he observed that even though it was a defective good, at least the medicinal ingredients inside were not bad. Impurities took up over 80% of it, but it wouldn't have any problems healing his injuries. Taking the medicinal pill, Long Chen ordered Bauer to not leak any news of him out, except to his mother, of course. Although Bauer didn't really understand why, she still trusted Long Chen and obediently nodded. After taking the medicine, although Long Chen had no way to use cultivation to absorb the medicinal strength, he managed to guide the medicinal energy to his wounds by using his more formidable spiritual strength, allowing him to recover extremely quickly. The second day, Long Chen slowly opened his eyes. He had a smile plastered on his mouth as he exercised his muscles. Excellent. Although that medicine was pretty bad, the medicinal ingredients themselves were of high enough quality. Other than my hindbrain, the majority of my injuries have already healed, and the amount of energy left over is more than enough to heal me completely. He slowly walked toward the mirror. Looking at his reflection, he saw nothing out of the ordinary, handsome youngster with eyebrows like swords and bright eyes. Long Chen took a deep breath. From today onward, I, Long Chen, will no longer be the previous Long Chen. I will rise above others. Although his body was still slightly weak, walking was no longer a problem. Long Chen left the room and saw that the sun had already risen in the east. After pondering deeply for an hour, he called over Bauer and gave her a list of medicinal ingredients to go find. However, Bauer's expression became a bit embarrassed. Long Chen wondered what it was before quickly remembering that the current Long family was extremely hard-pressed for money, and Bauer had no method to get a loan. Otherwise, his mother would not have had to sell off her own jewelry, a part of her exceptionally precious dowry, to the present Long family had already fallen into extremely dire straits. Feeling around in his pocket, he found slightly over 80 silver coins. Although this wasn't a lot, it was enough to buy the medicinal ingredients on his list. Bauer worked diligently, and not even 2 hours later, she had managed to buy the medicinal ingredients. Long Chen immediately set about measuring and dividing them into different portions before boiling them in a large bowl. 6 hours later, a very thick medicinal liquid was releasing a medicinal aroma. As Long Chen looked into the bowl of cheap medicinal liquid, a smile appeared on his face. I, Long Chen, will rise above others, starting from this one bowl of medicinal liquid. Chapter 1, End. I will be putting translator thoughts. Anytime there's a translator blurb, it'll be at the end of the video, just like now. BorntoBe's thoughts. Hope you guys enjoy this novel. And as a person who's doing the voiceover, I honestly wholeheartedly agree with that. I really hope you guys enjoy this story and the journey along with me. I've already read a good bit of it, and because I've been reading it for a few years now, I'm probably going to be doing each of these in one take. So if there's a few slip-ups here and there, I hope you'll forgive me and just let it pass, because this is one chapter, and BorntoBe releases minimum 2, usually 3 as of the past while, chapters a day. So if I want to even remotely try to catch up or even keep up, that means I need to sit down and record at least 2 or 3 chapters a day. Now, that's not a big deal until you start thinking about all the editing that would go behind all of that. So you guys are smart. You should understand, or you guys know. I don't have to explain to you. So, having said all that, I hope you'll forgive any slip-ups. I'll try to keep going and just push past it. A lot of the stuff that will be pronounced probably won't be pronounced right. This is a Chinese novel, but it's translated into English. So some things might not translate one-to-one. Some things might not make sense until at the end of the video, where I have to explain the translator notes. Actually, I think that's mainly about it. Like, this is a Chinese novel, so a lot of their enunciation or pronunciation will not be right, because I am an American and I have not taken Chinese. So even if I get some of the stuff right, I guarantee you a lot of the stuff probably won't be pronounced right. But it's being translated into English. I'm using English to read the translated bit. So we'll just say for the translation it's accurate, okay? But I've rambled enough. I've taken up enough of your time. I hope you all enjoy this first video, and I hope you all enjoy the videos that are to come. Without any further waiting, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next chapter.